Have you ever found yourself praying consistently and fervently, yet feeling like nothing is changing? You are not alone. Many of us have faced seasons where our prayers seem to go unanswered, and it feels like God is silent. But today, I want to remind you that silence does not mean absence. God is still at work, even when we cannot see it. Daniel 10:12 says, "Then he said to me, 'Do not fear, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come because of your words.'" Let's take a look at Daniel. He was a man of deep faith and constant prayer. In Daniel 10, we see that Daniel had been praying and fasting for 21 days, seeking understanding and answers from God. Yet, he was not getting an immediate response. It wasn't until an angel appeared to him that Daniel learned that his prayers were heard from the very first day he prayed, but a spiritual battle delayed the answer. How many times have you felt like Daniel? I have felt like this so many times in situations and moments where I have prayed, I have fasted, and yet I continue waiting for God to answer my prayers. So what Daniel's story teaches us is that delay does not mean denial. God hears us the moment we pray, but sometimes there are battles being fought in the spiritual realm that we cannot see. 2 Corinthians 12:8-9, it says, "3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me, but he said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness.'" The Apostle Paul also experienced this. He prayed 3 times for a thorn in his flesh to be removed, yet God did not take it away. Instead, God responded with, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Sometimes God's answer is not to change our circumstances, but to change us. Paul's example shows us that unanswered prayers can be a way for God to show his power in our weakness, to teach us dependence on him, and to strengthen our faith. Psalm 13:1-2 says, "How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart?" I don't know if you know a lot about Psalm, but this is David. He was a man that was after God's own heart, but he also felt the pain of waiting and the pain of unanswered prayers. In this Psalm 13, David cries out, "How long, Lord, will you forget me forever?" But if you continue reading this psalm, you'll see that David ends the psalm with trust, and he says, "But I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation." David's story reminds us that it's okay to bring our pain and questions to God. It's okay to ask God, "How long?" But we also need to remember and follow David's example of choosing to trust in God and trusting in his unfailing love even when we do not understand. So, what do we do when we're praying but nothing seems to change? First, we need to remember that God hears you. Like Daniel, your prayers are heard from the very first moment. Second, you need to trust that God is at work even when you do not see it. Paul learned that sometimes God's answer is to give us strength in the midst of our struggles. So these are the 4 most important points that you need to remember when you're in a season of waiting, when you're in a season of praying and you feel like God is not answering your prayers and you feel like you're not getting the kind of responses that you want. Number one, keep praying. Do not give up. Your prayers are powerful and effective, so you have to keep going. Number two, you need to trust God's timing. Believe that God's delays are not denials. Thirdly, you need to seek God's strength. Lean on Him when you're feeling weak. And lastly, rest in His promises. Fill your heart with scriptures that remind you of God's faithfulness. Remember, unanswered prayers do not mean that God is silent or absent. They often mean that He's working in ways we cannot see. He is preparing us, He is refining us, and He is aligning us with His perfect will. If this message encouraged you, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more faith-filled inspiration as we journey together. Until next time, keep praying, keep hoping, and keep trusting.